So the internet lately has been buzzing with two names: Dr. Larry Nassar and Jeffrey Epstein. And obviously not Netflix's documentary Athlete A and Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich haven't really helped, have they? So how are these two guys connected? How is a investment banker characterized as a Gatsby-like mystery man of New York, hanging out with the creme de la creme, the elite, connected to an esteemed doctor, the golden standard for the United States gymnastics team, who abused more than 500 victims, and including 9 Olympian champions? How are these two guys connected? You see, it doesn't matter whether they were targeting young athletes or whether they were going through a variety of women out there, a variety of young girls out there with different backgrounds. Their tactics were the same and are pretty much the same across all abusers. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the sexual abuse and also the emotional, mental abuse of these esteemed, powerful men with now a long-lasting reputation of sexual abuse, and how they got away with it for almost 2 decades. But I'm also going to say something in this video that probably not many of you will like, and it may earn me a few dislikes on this beautiful platform, but I feel like it needs to be said. Because one, I think people are taking the wrong idea out of it, and two, the most interesting one. 2, because I believe some of you have had this thought also, and some of you even feel ashamed of having that thought. Help a girl out and smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so you guys know when I'm making new videos every Thursday. Are you ready to venture into the dark mind of a mental and sexual abuser and dissect basically the most infamous sexual predators of our time? So let's start. Sometimes you need to visit the dark side in order to understand who turned off the light and how. First of all, like with any abuser, what Epstein and Nassar did beautifully is lay the groundwork. I don't know, and it hasn't been made known what these esteemed, powerful men in society did before they obtained that power. But if you look at Athlete A and if you look at Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich, you'll see that all the sexual abuse, all the mental manipulation that's going on is happening when they have the power. And these men made sure that the victims knew their power. If you watch these documentaries, you'll see that Epstein's victims constantly comment on how he would take them to his house and how big his mansion was and how beautiful, luxurious. He would throw out names and you would see pictures of him with Bill Clinton, Prince Andrews, Donald Trump, Harvey Weinstein. Now all this builds a very solid foundation of the power that this person can exert on you and the manipulation that they can use after they've abused you. Dr. Larry Nassar, the same thing. He was an esteemed doctor in the United States gymnastics team. He made sure to decorate his entire office with memorabilia and pictures of all the champions that he fixed and cured and treated, and brought back all these souvenirs from the places that he visited. Why? Because you need that groundwork in order to be able to go forth with the abuse without being caught. Now, after you've laid the groundwork, the most important thing, the thing that defines all abusers, is a bit controversial, because it's almost a compliment to say to someone that you have a good ability of judging people. You have a good ability reading people and knowing what they want. But you see, it's that ability that makes these abusers masters of manipulation. Both Epstein and Nassar, taking out the abuse part, were masters at reading people, understanding what they wanted, and making sure that the victim understands that they and only they can give it to them. So after laying groundwork, the most important thing, know your audience. So Epstein, for example, he knew when a girl needed money, when a girl needed validation, when a girl needed to be heard that she was pretty, when a girl wanted a specific education. He knew exactly how to approach that victim. So, for example, one victim said that she wanted to study in Spain and she didn't have the money. Epstein comes and says, "Hey, I'll help you out." Other victims included young girls, 14 years old. We've all been through puberty. Some of you are going through puberty now. It's a really screwed up time. Your hormones are all over the place. Most of us think we're disgusting. Add some braces, add some frizzy hair, and you've got the whole package. That was my thing, at least. So Epstein, again, one of his victims, she always thought she was not the pretty one. She always thought that she was not the popular one. So what does he do? Once he asks for that massage and starts and is about to transcend to the sexual abuse part, he tells her stuff such as, "Wow, you're so beautiful. Wow, you're so charming." And most importantly, Epstein made it pretty clear that if I ask you to come back and give me a massage, which obviously meant other things, it's because I like you, you are pretty, you are beautiful enough to continue to be of service. Now, if you have a person, remember the previous step, the lay the groundwork? If you have a person that is so powerful and thinks you, itty bitty you, a 14-year-old, is pretty, now that really boosts up your confidence, doesn't it? And pretty much leads you into the arms of a sexual abuser. Larry Nassar did the same. He made it clear that he agreed with whatever these girls said. So these girls would come to him with injuries. They would come to him in tears, saying how much their coaches have verbally abused them, how much in physical pain they were. And what did Larry Nassar did? He said, "I agree. Your coaches are abusive. I agree. Your coaches are unfair. I don't understand why your coaches are starving you. Here's some food." And then because he was a doctor, he also made sure, remember what I said, lay the groundwork. He also made sure that these victims knew that he was the only one that could alleviate their pain. He was the only one that not only understood the mental pain they were going through, the physical pain, but that he was the one that could alleviate them from that pain. The one that could make that pain go away, either by literally fixing them up as a doctor or by confronting them. And again, this led them into the arms of a sexual abuser. So I'm going to ask you something. There's this, in my previous video, I will link it above if you want to check it out. I'm talking about this abuse pandemic, this ripple effect that is going on due to athlete A, and now that I've seen Epstein also. Do you guys think that all these stories are true? Do you guys think that everything that these victims are expressing are true, or even if they were victims at all? I'm going to answer that question in a few minutes. So you've done the abuse, right? You've done the damage. You've sexually abused these girls. You've taken away their innocence. What do you do next? You manipulate the situation and make it seem normal. So even though it doesn't feel right, all the external stimuli of what is going on, all your surroundings are showing you that nothing really happened. So Ghislaine Maxwell was the right hand of Epstein. She was an elite British socialite. She had also quite good standing in society. And one of the survivors said that Ghislaine and Epstein had this amazing tactful ability to normalize the situation even when the abuse was going on. Now, this is very crucial if someone is sexually, physically, mentally abusing you. But let's put sexual abuse because we're talking about these two particular people. If you're going to get away with it, but not only you're going to get away with it, you want these victims coming back to you, you have to make it seem that it's normal. You have to make it seem that what's going on, no matter how much you don't understand it, it's fine. Now, I said in my previous video that these young gymnasts were children. And they didn't understand, their brains were not equipped yet to understand what sexual abuse is. Same thing applies to Epstein's victims. They were also young girls, 14 years old. They didn't really Even though they understood that something was wrong, again, their mind was not equipped enough to be able to process such an instance. And there's one scene in the documentary that has stayed with me. So they invite one of the girls to a massage. And as she's giving Epstein a massage, Ghislaine's also there. Maxwell's also there. And she starts taking off her clothes and asks the survivor also to take off her clothes. And there's a menage a trois is kind of starting, and they're all doing stuff to the girl, and the girl is asked to do stuff to them. So how do they pull this off? I think that the fact that Maxwell was there, another female was there, and a female victim, in a sick way, kind of made the situation not that bad. Because Maxwell manipulated her femininity, a concept that we have engraved that women are nurturing, comforting. And she used that concept, that femininity, because she would take the hand of the victim and caress it and rub her hand and say, shh, everything's all right. It's fine. And especially with some victims, I don't think Epstein would be able to get through that without Maxwell. How did Larry Nassar do that? He used his expertise, his medical knowledge, to fuel his argument. Now, if you see his interrogations, the guy's a genius. The guy starts throwing out all these medical terminologies, talking about how that he was trying to place the coccyx of the girls in place, which is the bottom part of the spine. So he was saying, like, to do this, you need vaginal and anal penetration. And in the middle of the interrogation, he goes into this spiel of medical terminology, and then he turns around to the interviewer and says, yeah, you wouldn't understand that, never mind. So he's making even the interviewer feel inferior by projecting this medical knowledge, by using the fact that he was the golden standard of the United States gymnastics team and trying to get his way out of it. Like I said, these guys were mastered at normalizing a situation. And I've also mentioned this in my previous video. These young athletes, this abuse that was happening to some of these girls was actually happening in front of their parents. Think about it. If your parents were in front when this was happening to you, and you're 9, 10, 11, 12, at that age, you rely on the psychological, emotional reaction that these grown-ups, these parents, the epitome of perfection you have right now for them, to react. So if something was going on, you're thinking, okay, well, it doesn't feel right, the fact that he's doing this to me, but my parents aren't saying anything, so I guess it's normal. Creepy, huh? So here's the cynical part. I told you in the beginning of the video. I asked you a question, and I asked, do you honestly believe these stories? Do you honestly believe that all these victims were sexually abused? Or do you believe that some of these victims right now are, some of these people right now are making up stories in order to gain fame, money? Recently, it was said that a fund was being established of 610 million to compensate for all of Epstein's victims. And I've seen a few journalist articles that are absolutely infuriated by this accusation, by this, how dare they actually question the survivors and what they've gone through. Harsh truth time. Chances are, if not yet, some of these stories will be false. Wake up and smell the coffee, guys. The world is not black and white, and people are gonna take advantage of that gray area. And some people will fabricate, or will maybe exaggerate on their abuse stories in order to gain fame, money. But my question to you, because I'm all about changing perspective, is so effing what? If out of the 10 stories, those 7 stories are true, does it really matter at the end of the day that those 3 stories were fake? Are you going to condemn an entire cause, an entire movement, the strength of those 7 girls or those 7 victims that are now survivors because 3 of them decided to take advantage? We all know that the world is not a fair place. We all know that bad people sometimes get good stuff. But you have to see the whole picture. Does it really matter how many people were sexually abused? Even if it's 1? Doesn't that matter? Now, make sure to check out my other video on what really happened to Simone Biles and the other gymnast in Athlete A. If you like what I said, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so you guys know when I'm making new videos every Thursday. Oh, and yeah, smash that like button. That's it, folks.